This beauty world. I am Syed Shabahat and you are watching Fault Lines. A very sad incident has taken place on the day of Eid al-Azha in Sweden. A Swede national has burnt Quran in front of a mosque, and he did this with permission of the Swedish authorities. Protests were recorded across the Muslim world. Many Muslim countries have observed protests by the Muslims, and also there were protests in many parts of Europe. This gives birth to a very pertinent question that why Scandinavia at large, and particularly Sweden, has become home for such events that remind us that Islamophobia has not gone from Europe. It has rather penetrated deeper into the Scandinavian society. To discuss this in today's program, Team Fault Lines have prepared a package. Watch the package before I bring my first guest to the program.
Misguided minds are pursuing a nefarious agenda by spreading the negative trend of Islamophobia. Reflecting extent of Islamophobic hatred, a man desecrated the Holy Quran in Sweden's capital Stockholm, resulting in strong condemnations from across the world. The OIC during the emergency meeting stressed the urgent need for collective action to prevent the desecration of Holy Quran, the holiest book of Muslims. OIC Secretary General Hussein Brahim Taha emphasized the importance of reminding the international community about the necessity of adhering to international law, which explicitly prohibits promoting religious hatred. The European Union joined several Muslim nations in condemning the latest Islamophobic act and stated that the desecration of Holy Quran or any other holy book is offensive and disrespectful and a clear act of provocation. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif urged Swedish government to take strict action against the desecration of the Holy Quran and demanded a proper investigation into heinous incident. The nation is observing Day of the Sanctity of the Holy Quran to protest against despicable incident. The reoccurrence of Islamophobic incidents during the last few months in the West calls into serious questions the legal framework which permits such hate-driven actions. Peace-loving nations and leaders believing in coexistence should block the path of violent forces harboring Islamophobia and religious prejudices.
Ladies and gentlemen, my first guest in the program is Chaudry Naveed Hussain Arai. Chaudry Saab is a businessman, human rights activist, a political worker based in Sweden. He has contested elections for the national and provincial legislature. Naveed Arai, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Can you kindly tell us about the broader background of this issue? We all understand that it is not an isolated event. Things are taking place one after another in this context in Sweden.
First of all, assalamu alaikum to everybody. This issue is not actually new in Sweden or even in Scandinavia. There have been several events for burning Quran last year as well, when it was the election year. And unfortunately, it's happening still now. And while we are talking now, 3 other persons also have applied to burn the Quran. We got the information from the Swedish police, and they told us that 3 other persons, included this one who have burned last week, have applied again to burn the Quran. Just before election last year in 2022, there was a survey about Islamophobia done by our city government here in Malmö. And it is very unfortunate, like around 70% people, those who got hate crime online and face the Islamophobia, they are Muslims here living in Sweden. So this is actually getting worse and worse. And we are working very hard to tackle this issue in Scandinavia, specifically in Sweden, to stop this.
But Chaudry Sahab, while you say this must be very difficult, because as I can understand from the survey that you have just quoted, it has been published online as well. More than 70% people in Sweden have marked the reservations. They say they have some vengeance or some problems with regard to Islam. So living in such an Islamophobic society at large also have its own challenges.
Yes, that's very true. And we had not only that Quran burning issue, but we have faced issues like some places they try to ban hijab in schools, and some places they have treated our children on a different basis because of their religion. So it is true, and it's not only in Sweden, it is overall in Europe. And it is not very easy, but the thing is like, it's very unfortunate while the powerful Islamic countries, they are not really doing anything on the world level where it needs to be done. But people, those who are living here, they have no choice but just to come forward and fight against Islamophobia. So yes, there are many problems, but unfortunately, we do not have any choice. We cannot just say we're gonna leave from here, but we have to stay here. But something also happening very positive, that when people, those Islamophobe people, they are doing these kind of things. So a lot of the Swedish origin or European origin people, they are converting to Islam because more and more people, when somebody burning the Quran, so they are trying to find out what is wrong, why they are burning this book. So we also deliver the copies of Quran in Swedish language and in other different languages to people. So when they read it, so they find out that there is nothing what is being told to them on the media and these kind of things.
Point taken. Point taken. Naveed Sahib, to talk about this issue in specific, please help us to understand. To my understanding, this was not, the permission was not granted by the city government or police at large. It was granted by the court. Police was initially quite reluctant to give permission as they believed it could have caused consequences. So are the judiciary or the judges having similar attitude toward other religion as well? Would they allow, or do they allow normally, or do the applications go to same courts for humiliating other religions as well?
It's unfortunate that this is happening like that. But the thing is, the background, if you quickly look, last year when they burned the Quran here in our city in Malmö, so there was riots and there was a lot of violence also in our streets. There was dozens of cars was burned, and around over 40 police were injured by throwing the stones on them. So police know already now there will be like some kind of a strong reaction sometime. That's why in the month of February, when they try to ask the permission here in our city in front of the main mosque, so police did not allow it. And then same it happened in the Stockholm, the capital city. Police said there is a risk for violence and these kind of things and people's safety. So we do not allow. But the thing is like these people, those who are culprits, they know that we have a specific law here, which allow you to freedom of speech. So they go to the court, and they go in the lower court, and they demand their right of freedom of speech. So lower court do not really think of the consequences and the public safety. So they have allowed, according to the book, what is written that. But we also need to understand one thing, that here in Sweden, hate crime against any group, authentic group or a religious group, it have 2 years of punishment as prison. So hopefully now when police are already telling their national TV and the press, and there have been condemnation from the Pope and from the Swedish Prime Minister, so maybe before they allow any permission, judiciary will think that this can bring chaos in our own streets.
Thank you very much, Chaudry Naveed Hussain Arai, for being guest in our show today. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Chaudry Naveed Hussain Arai, a political activist from Sweden, and he pointed out things that are quite a cause of concern for many of us. That 70% people, according to an official poll in Sweden, who have been victim of harassment online or harassment at workplace, have become subject to this hatred, to this venom of hatred because of their religious beliefs, and 70% of them have been Muslims. To add further into it, he also told us that while Muslims are doing a lot, such events are taking place one after another, and it's also creating an interest for the other people. in the holy book of Quran. However, this is truly a tragic incident for which government of Pakistan has also recorded its democratic right of protest. It's a diplomatic right of protest. I'm now going to add my second guest from Sweden. His name is Arif Mahmud Kisana, and Arif Mahmud Kisana is a columnist, author, vlogger, a member of a Foreign Press Association of Sweden. Arif Saab, I welcome you to the show.
Thank you very much.
Arif Saab, I was just running through one of your vlogs yesterday while you accepted very kindly our request to be a guest in this show. Help me to understand why Sweden is becoming the home of such problems repeatedly. We understand Islamophobia is a Western problem at large, but Sweden has witnessed these issues quite frequently. What can be exactly the reason behind it?
Actually, it's a very important question. And first of all, we wanted to know the system in Sweden, how the country is governed, and what are the existing rules, and why these culprits are doing this repeatedly, and why the Swedish government is not going to stop it, and what should be our reaction, and what's the future. So first of all, your question, why it's happened in Sweden. Actually, the culprits, they are going to do this to get the fame in the media and the other things. You know, the people who started this, they are not Swedes. The first culprit who did many times in Sweden, he belongs to Denmark, and recently on the Eid day, that guy belongs to Iraq. So no Swede right now has conducted this incident, and they are actually using the tool of Sweden's law of freedom, and actually they are misleading to the people. And now the majority of the Swedes, they are against the burning of the Quran, and now the civil society, lawmakers, the politicians, the majority of the Swedish people, they wanted to change the law, or they want to have a new law that should stop this burning of Holy Quran. And they understand the intensity. And some people believe that the Swedish government is going to help, or Swedish government is going to assist these incidents. That's not true. Swedish government has strongly condemned from the beginning, but they have to follow their law, and the law is not clear. Swedish constitution is based on four pillars, and one of them is the freedom of expression. And now the people have realized that this law is misinterpreted, and the people are going to use this law. Police was not going to allow this burning of Quran recently, and that guy went to the court, and the court decided that according to the law of freedom and expression, police can't deny this. So that's why it happened. But now, here even the other religious minorities and other groups, for example, Jews, Christians, they have also joined the hand, and they said that this act should be stopped. And freedom of speech is not absolute. There are the limitations, and we should understand this.
Arif Saab, in one of your media appearances, I have seen you even talking about the way this legal procedure was pursued. You said that the Iraqi who has done this crime was there in the court of law, but the Muslims of Sweden didn't actually contested him. There was less of a legal resistance that he faced. But tell us more about it. What exactly happened in the court of law where he got the permission from?
You are right. I think we missed that chance. In my vlogs, I stressed that now is the time when it was in the court. So the Muslim associations, lawmakers, politicians should become a party of that case, and they should indicate that this is not the freedom of expression. Actually, police has a counter argument that if these people will be allowed, so there will be a reaction. So police was not stressing at this point, but we missed that chance. And But again, I think no, everyone is talking, and in the Swedish media, a lot of people are talking, and people are coming. And as I said recently, yesterday there was some opinion poll in the national television, and 53% people said they don't like this burning of the Holy Quran. And I think there will be some changes. To me, I think it's not possible to make amendment the existing freedom expression law, but there will be another law. And 2-3 days before, the ex-secretary to the Prime Minister Olof Palme, he wrote a very good article in the media, and he said the existing criminal code, and he gave the reference this 13 and subclause 8 that these type of actions are not legal and they are not covered under the freedom of expression. So we hope that there will be some changes, and we hope that will be stopped. Recently, 3 more people have applied to the police. One woman, she said she will do it again, the main mosque in Stockholm. Second person said he will burn the Torah and Bible in front of Israel's embassy. And the third person, he said he will burn all the holy scripts. So, it's not against the Quran and Islam. It's widespread. When it will be widespread, all people will realize it, and I hope they will do some positive measures.
And Kisana Sahib, you were also of the view that while the protest goes on against such events, it actually makes the person more popular. And to draw further attention from international media, there are more venomous people getting attracted toward such heinous crimes. Please elaborate this argument.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this important question. 3 years before, when the culprit from Denmark, he started this type of incidents. So the reaction was very aggressive, and there was law and order situation, and that made even negative marking to the Muslim community. But now the Muslim community is very mature, and they have reacted in very good and behavioral manner. And there was no big processions after this incident. But now on the Sunday, all Muslim organizations, they are going to have a big procession in the capital, and they will show their strength, and they will follow the country laws. And secondly, I said, why these culprits do? Actually, they want to fame in the media. They want to get the attention of the press. And we should react in a very wisely and according to the teachings of the Holy Quran. I quote the Surah Nisa, 4th Surah, verse 140. Allah Kareem has said us, whenever there is such situation, so we should just go away, and when the people again engage in the normal conversation, we should join. So I think our ulama, the scholars, should get the guidance from the Holy Quran. And Holy Quran
Thank you very much, thank you very much, Arif Mahmud Kisana Sahib, for being guest in our show today. Ladies and gentlemen, as two different analysts from Sweden have pointed it out, not only that these crimes are increasing, but also there is a revived sense of revision of thoughts is running on in the Muslims of Europe, who are now applying for amendment in this law once and for all. We'll take a break and we'll join you back with second segment of the program. Stay with us. Welcome back. Another important development that has taken place in the past week was an attack in Jenin camp. Now, Jenin is a camp where many refugees are living. The people who have been displaced by the Israeli oppression are living here. At large, it's one of the most densely populated areas in the West Bank. Now, Israeli forces started their operation with strike of a missile that was dropped from the air, then followed by some aerial bombing, and then their troops entered into the city, smashing house after house, wall after wall, killing at least 12 people. But these are the estimates that we have taken from The sources on ground certainly are reliable to some extent. The problem is that in the garb of addressing the concerns regarding attacks within the land of Israel, what Israel is doing is killing people at large. Such densely populated pockets of civilians are targeted with missiles and bombs, certainly adding into the catastrophes that the people of Palestine are living in. Team Fault Lines have prepared a package. Watch the package before I bring my guest to this part of the program.
The very existence of the Palestinian people in their homeland is being threatened and requires urgent action in line with the international law as Israel continues carrying out crimes against humanity in Palestine. Israel is conducting a massive ground offensive in a densely populated Palestinian refugee camp in the northern West Bank. Jenin has been witnessing fierce aerial bombardments and ground incursions by the Israeli military involving elite special forces, armored personnel carriers, bulldozers, helicopters and drones. The Israeli military operation against the Jenin refugee camp is the largest since the 2000-2005 Second Intifada, a mass Palestinian uprising against Israel's decades-long occupation. The OIC has condemned the Israeli assault and called on the UN Security Council to take responsibility, enforce its relevant resolutions, put an end to this continuous Israeli terrorism and provide protection for the Palestinian people. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is deeply concerned about developments in Jenin. A spokesperson said after Israeli forces hit the West Bank city with drone strikes in one of the largest operations in the area in 20 years. The raids and confrontations of 2002 turned the Battle of Jenin into a symbol of Palestinian resistance, and this Israeli assault is igniting the same spirit of resistance among the Palestinians.
To talk about this, joining me from Somaliland is Ahmad Zaki, one of our famous experts of Middle Eastern affairs. Ahmad Zaki, I welcome you to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Ahmad Zaki, this was apparently a combination of air raid, drone strike, and then some military operation. What exactly were they up to? What exactly they were trying to accomplish from it?
As we know, for the last few years, Israeli air attack or Israeli attack on Palestinian land, mostly it was taking place on Gaza Strip. Now, from Ramallah side, it was for a long time, there was no operation from the Israeli department. This time it came with the uprise of the Israeli population who are against the government, and the government is trying to get attention of the public that we are defending you against the terrorists or Palestinian terrorists. And it's all about the local political game that always plays by the Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. He has been ruling the country for a long time, and he was trying to make judicial reform in the country and to gain a lot of power by himself, kind of authoritarian type of government. The population of Palestinians living in Jenin area, they are mostly under the Israeli operation, under the Israeli authority, and they don't have any sort of a freedom that they can even express the basic human rights that they need. On the other hand, they were being accused for a long time that the refugees who are living in Jenin are now focusing to attack on Israel, and that is mostly not true. There are a lot of young population who are against Israel, that is true, but they are not organized people who are going against the Israeli government or Israeli forces and using extensive force. That it shows that it's against the international law. It has been condemned by international human rights organizations. It has been condemned by the Muslim majority countries, and it has been condemned by even European countries. That is showing that Israel is using unnecessary extensive force to eliminate the existence of Palestinian in the land.
Ahmad Zaki, in many of the international newspapers, I have read that on Wednesday there was an attack from Gaza side, rocket attacks, as we have mostly been seeing inside Israel, and after that an air raid was expected. So is it a process which is not going to end ever? Every time rockets will be fired inside, every time in the garb of addressing this issue, Israel will come back with 10 times force, and this will keep happening infinitely. Are we stuck into some kind of a vicious cycle?
When you see the conflict of Israel and Palestinian, it's extremely complicated kind of type of conflict, which mostly the UN Security Council failed multiple times to make a two-state solution of Palestinian and Israel. On the other hand, whenever there is a conflict between Israel and Palestinian militant factions, Israel is using extensive force, which is against the international law. As we know that if you face any damage from any sort of any other country or any other militant, you should have to use an equal force, not 10 times or 100 times more than that. And when you see the devastation caused by the Israeli air raids, Israeli military equipments, it have 10 times larger than what they are causing by the freedom fighters of Palestinians. On the other hand, the international community are extremely divisive on this issue. They are not taking what is they supposed to take. There is no sanctions on Israel. And look, on the other hand, now if we even forget all previous conflicts, Jenin is under the authority of Israel. It's occupied land, and now they are using extensive force on refugee camps, the people who are already displaced by their own countries, and using extensive force against them, going door by door, knocking door by door, even killing the international media personnel, attacking the media houses. That is extremely fascism type of force that they are using. So it's only that there are only two ways to solve it. Either Israel should have to face the consequence of international law, or there should have to be an extensive force against them by the Muslim community. And that there shouldn't be any sort of negotiation anymore, because now they are using the force against the people they are ruling already and under their regulations. And it's extremely unbearable kind of attack.
Israel has said that they were there to address the problem of militancy. They were there to kill some militants who are hiding, who are armed, who have weapons, and who potentially can cause damage to the Israelis. But did in the process of killing these militants, did any Israelis also lost their lives, or was it a unilateral operation? Because if there were terrorists inside, they should have been capable of putting up stiff resistance against these attackers.
My dear brother, if you understand the deep cause of this issue, this type of operation was not against the militant, against the state. It was a refugee against the state. It's a civilian, and they have the weapon that they are fighting against Israel is either they are using stones or they are using knives. And you can understand the extensive force that the air attacks, military attacks, extensive force have been used against the refugee camp, which the people who are struggling to have a daily life, food, sanitation, and even primary education is not even available on their land. How they can be able to have a weapon to go against the military, extensive force of Israeli military? This is a fake excuse, but that Israeli government is doing. If they are willing, if they are right what they are doing, why they are not allowing the international media to cover? Why they are killing the international journalists who are covering the issue? This is not an excuse anymore. They are using extensive force. There is no damage came on the side of Israel. They are accusing the car explosion take place in Tel Aviv. It has been organized from the Jenin. Refugee organized it. And refugees have no weapon. It's no record that they are using even rockets. Yes, Hamas is well organized. They are militant. They are going against Israel. They are fighting for themselves. And they are using extensive force as much as they can against Israel or Israeli military or even Israeli civilian. Israel is doing 10 times more than that. But Jenin case is extremely opposite. In Jenin, there is no militant, there is no on the record of the militant, there is no force over there, there is no anyone organized. The people who are living there are refugees, simple refugee people who are like Afghan refugee living in Pakistan, or the refugee who are living in Turkey, came from Syria. Any other refugee, they are also refugee under their land. And that is what Israel is making excuses, and it's unacceptable excuse.
Let's talk about the state of the people of Gaza. Now, the people living in this very populated strip of Gaza that we were earlier talking about, before talking about Jenin, are certainly struck between the state of Israel and Hamas. Hamas is blamed every time by Israel, whether rightly or wrongly, to fire rockets inside. And then Israel comes back with 10 times, 14 times, 20 times power. It starts killing people, which causes further destruction in Gaza. Now, apparently, the people of Gaza are somehow struck in this mad cycle. Do you believe there is any political arrangement other than Hamas possible for the people living inside the Strip of Gaza?
For the people of Gaza, it's extremely unfortunate for them. Hamas have no strategy that they are overcoming the power of Israel, and Israel have no strategy that they can dominate this Palestinian militant Hamas. On the other side, both sides, the victim is the Palestinian civilian people who are being victim very badly. Look, on the other hand, Hamas make a landslide victory of the first election of 2008. Since 2008 till now, they didn't allow any the community of Palestinians living under the Hamas administration to choose their leaders independently without the influence of the Hamas administration. On the other hand, Israel is doing deliberately every year that they are killing around 200 to 500 Palestinian children and women, deliberately attacking by the residential buildings, by the marketplaces, hospitals and schools. And that is on the record of the international human rights organizations and the UN documents. It's not a claim that the Palestinians are making, or the Arab League is making, or any other Muslim country who have this sympathy for the Palestinian making. This is an international institution's record of the Israeli use of force. There's only one way that now that we can deal with it. Either
my brother, last question in the show from you is about the state of Egypt. Now, ever since Mohammed Morsi has disappeared from the political horizon of Egypt, the support for Gaza has apparently diluted, because Egypt was quite fond of the people. Gaza historically has been a part of Egypt as well. Do you believe this lack of interest from Egypt is also one of the major handicaps that restricts the humanitarian aid to reach within the Strip of Gaza?
And as you know, since Sisi came into power of Egypt, he was always on the side of the United States and Israel. He never stand for the Palestinian rights. They didn't allow even the humanitarian supply to go through the Gaza Strip, the border of Egypt and Gaza. And I don't think that he have any sort of sympathy for the people of Palestine, because his legitimacy of being a member of the international community is dependent the support of American interests in the region and the Israeli interests in the region. Otherwise, they will put a lot of trouble against him, because he came illegally to power. And for getting validation from the Western authorities, he should have to oppress the people of Gaza against Israel. And even the basic medical supply or the basic humanitarian supply is not easily crossing the Gaza border with Egypt. So I don't think that there is a hope from Egypt's side that the Palestinian people will get a support from Egypt. And whenever there is a conflict, they were voluntarily coming as a mediation. But nowadays, even they don't come for that. And you can understand that gap has been empty for a long time.
Thank you very much, Ahmad Zaki, for being guest in our show. Ladies and gentlemen, moving to the last part of our program is the problem of France. Now, France is a country that has started looking politically quite segmentized, and the society is apparently looking divided at large. One after another, a wave of protest is rumbling and shaking the city of Paris. Not only this time, the protests are recorded to be far more graver than the previous protests, but also they have gone more violent than the protests that have been observed before. This time, a young man who was apparently from a minority racial community has been killed by police. And to add into the crisis, while police crimes are quite rampant everywhere in the world, the problem is that there are more people standing in favor of police than the people standing in favor of this little man who has been brutally murdered by police. There are separate fundraisers taking place for the policeman as well as for the victim of this heinous crime, and this has started showing us the wider divide that exists within the French society. To talk about this, I have invited a guest based in Paris. His name is Dr. Mubashir Malik, and Dr. Mubashir Malik is a political analyst from France. Dr. Mubashir, I welcome you to the show. Doctor, first things first, what exactly is the background of this event that has taken place?
The background of event, as we all know by now, that it was extrajudicial killing by a policeman. The policeman, they were chasing that young boy who was driving a car. Apparently, he was a young boy. The police they assumed that he is driving without driving license, and he was driving in a bus lane. When the police tried to stop him, he stopped. The police was interrogating him, and they were holding their guns. Apparently, the boy tried to escape from the scene, and the policemen they shoot him on the point blank range, and it was all filmed by some amateur photographer somewhere, and it gone viral on social media quickly.
Now, after police has killed this 17-year-old boy as reported, and I'm reading from the newspaper, two fundraisers have been started, one in the support of this young boy and the other in support of the police officer. So what exactly is happening? It doesn't normally happen everywhere in the world.
Let me correct the numbers, Shabahat. This is 1.6 million and 450,000. This is not 450 million. So you can see that there is a clear divide in the society. The people, they are not acting as they should have acting on the brutal act of the policeman. While on the other hand, the people, they are paying for the policeman and his welfare. And this is a common practice here in France. Whenever somebody dies, people they paid for their families and for the charity work. So as we see that the people they are paying for well-being of both of the victim and the assassin, I should say, and this is a very embarrassing situation that they have paid like 1.6 million pounds. And this is a lot of money, and as we see that everybody is paying for the policeman, and very less people, like 21,000 people, they have paid for the family of the victim. The government has already put the charges of murder on the policeman. The policeman is under arrest, and I hope the justice will be served. But the thing is that this has gone wrong at many levels.
It is often said that French police does not penetrate into many areas of Paris city. There are certain no-go areas where AK-47s are in the hands of gangs, and this is probably one of the reasons why police has been largely ineffective in the wake of these riots.
This is true. This is true to some extent that there are certain no-go areas for the police in the bigger cities like Paris, Marseille, Lyon. I should say these are the ghettos. They are the hubs of the people who are operating from those areas. The people they are involved in the drugs. They are involved in arms and they are involved in several type of illegal activities. So yes, that is true. There are areas, they are called difficult areas by French government, and they do exist. The police cannot simply enter into all those areas.
And there have been complaints about police's brutality with the racial minorities, particularly the people who are living in such slums or such areas where police cannot penetrate much. Whenever they go inside, they cause violence, they cause further resentment. Would you agree with this?
Yes, that's true. This is overall opinion, the general opinion, and we have seen that non-white people, they are more likely to be checked by police more often. And to a recent census, a poll that they conducted, and there are several NGOs who do these type of tests. They are saying that if you are non-white race person, there are 40% more chances that you will be checked by the police and you will be treated by police differently. So there are cases, and this case which we are discussing is one of them. This is a sad truth.
I was reading one of the statements in one of the international journals, and it reads that ever since Marine Le Pen has lost the presidential election against Macron, she has been causing political chaos in the country, and it is one of the major reasons why France is not settling down politically. Would you agree with this statement?
This is quite true because for the last two terms of the President Macron, there is no real leftist parties are left in France. There is no left in France. Macron, he got votes from the left, the centrist, and he got some votes from the right wingers as well, because the people, they were thinking that he is more mediocre person and he would raise the country to a different level. But the thing is different now, since the Marine Le Pen, as she represents most of the right wingers, they do not want simply Macron's government to succeed. So this is one of the reason that we see the yellow jacket protest. We see such type of unrest in the country since the Macron's in power.
And Dr. Saab, lastly, don't you find any external reasons with regards to it? I mean, economy perhaps could have been one of the reasons why French society is not settling down ever since this meltdown has started.
This is you are right. This is not new for this country that we are facing such type of protest and such type of I should say the vandalism activities, because it goes back to the slavery age when the France was ruling African countries, and they were colonized, and since they are free now, but still they think that these are the French people who made us slave for such a longer time. So now when they act like this has the same hatred and the same level of agony in them that dates back to the centuries. So whenever they do this, for example, this young boy who was killed, he was a French boy. He was born and raised in France, but he had Algerian origins. So now when we see that all the Algerians and all the Arab origin people who are protesting, they say that these are the Arabs you are killing. We spoke earlier, a few months back, on this thing, that why French people they are protesting. This is their frustration. This is their long frustration, which they blow out whenever they get chance to do it. And now this is one of the thing, because in their opinion, they are not allowed to raise themselves in the political system. They are not allowed to get higher government posts. They are not allowed to have equal opportunities in the government institutions. So when they do this shows their frustration, which is long invested in them, invested in them for a longer time now.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mubashir Malik, for being guest in our show.
Thank you very much, Shabahat, for having me on the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was our last segment about France. And as Dr. Mubashir Malik has pointed out, the division in the French society is quite evident. While there are many other reasons that have been mentioned, the division in French politics and the economic chaos that have triggered since 2019 are the major factors contributing in this problem that is being faced by France. We'll join you next week with another program. And until then, Allah Hafiz.